on this edition of everyone's favorite college basketball program on YouTube with an ampersand in the title. The captain of the ship, Mike Holland, joins me fresh off the plane from Las Vegas for our second installment of the Never Too Early Top 25 rankings as we count down the teams on this show ranked 15 through 6, including, to no one's surprise, a heavy influence from the best conferences in our sport, the SEC and the Big 12. Join us and the liveliest live chat in all the land, won't you? Recording live from somewhere. This is One and Done.
Get out the insurance cards, get out the co-pays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
It's time once again for everybody to come aboard that One and Done train. Welcome to One and Done. Bienvenidos a todos a One and Done, your fast break of college basketball información. And we are powered by the galaxy's greatest website, drroto.com. I'm your sometimes humble host. My name is Jay Heinrich, and I happen to be the conductor of the aforementioned One and Done train. Find me on X at Dr. William Cannon, but do yourself a favor and follow this man. He is El Capitan around these parts, the captain of the One and Done ship. Find him on X at MC Holland34. The OG, Money Mike, there he is, a little bit larger on your viewing device. Mr. Mike Holland. Mike, what it do? How was your trip?
It was amazing, man. It was 48 hours of just any and everything. So it was good times, man. Oddly enough, I did not win a single bet, but oddly enough, I crushed it in blackjack and had some luck in roulette. So kind of the opposite. Usually when you go to Vegas, it's like you lose all the money on the table games and the slots. We make some money on the sports book, but yeah, to no dice. The Rockies decided they wanted to play some good baseball. Just all kinds of crap happening, man. But it was an awesome trip, man, and I'm glad we're back. You know, it's been about a week since we did the unveiling of the first 10 teams on our One and Done top 25 for the offseason, so I'm excited to jump into the next 10.
Yeah, the Rockies have won 2 in a row at the time of this recording, and their manager said, don't let them get hot. Who knows what will happen?
Yeah.
But you know,
all I had to do was put money on them.
Yeah, exactly. Why not? There's a lot of teams that we're going to talk about here tonight that we think will get hot during the college basketball season. But before we do that, make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. Follow us at One and Done CBB on all the socials. Hit up our guy at The Real Napier on X tonight as well, pushing the buttons behind the scenes, the Hall of Famer CC Hustle. And then our guy at Fantasy Nav, Eric the Blue, getting you those very, very nice graphics that'll be up on your screen later on, getting some stuff up for us as well. So shout out to everybody. Shout out to you for hanging out with us here on One and Done. Even if you're not watching live, leave us a comment. Let us know you're hanging out with us. We'd love to hear from you. And if you think that we did your school justice, you know, if they're in our top 25. So to go back real fast, give a quick rundown of show 1, going from our teams ranked 25 through 16. That was Creighton at 25, NC State coming in at 24, Kansas at 23, Michigan State at 22, North Carolina, come on and raise up the Tar Heels at 21, a team that I think that's too high. I think by the end of the season, we're going to be talking about Hubert Davis leaving that job, but that's another story. There we go, 25 through 21, and then teams 20 through 16, Illinois, Tennessee, Gonzaga, Louisville, and Iowa State, those pesky Cyclones. So that's 25 through 16. If you didn't check out that show, make sure you go over to the after you watch this one, of course. Get over there and watch that one. Catch up with us here. But Mike, we're going to get to teams 15 through number 6 tonight. We're going to start with number 15, and that will be the old Auburn Tigres, the Tigers in the SEC. 15-3 last season in the conference under head coach Bruce Pearl, whose second decade in navy blue and burnt orange began with a deep run in the tourney as a 1 seed. They beat Alabama State, Creighton, Michigan, and Michigan State all the way to the Final Four before losing to eventual national champion Florida in a game that we actually saw in person at the Alamo Dome. That was an extremely talented roster under Coach Pearl, Mike, with only the only return of note really being Tahad Pettiford. Coach Pearl has some work to do to replace guys like, have you heard of him? Janai Broom, kind of a big deal there, no longer playing for Auburn. Denver Jones, Miles Kelly, Chaney Johnson, Dylan Cardwell, all names, losing them to graduation. But then Mr. AARP himself, Chad Baker-Mazara, will be hitting the portal, going to USC. That's a big name, very talented guy in that backcourt for Bruce Pearl last year. An exodus movement of Ja people. Oh, yeah. An exodus of talent on the way out, Mike. How did Coach do filling out his roster?
Yeah, well, I mean, you just mentioned Pettiford. That's a pretty good start, man. We saw him just absolutely dominate for limited action for much of the year and then completely unleashed during the NCAA tournament. Kind of surprised because he had a massive vertical. I thought he would kind of try to parlay kind of his end of the year to go into the NBA draft, but he's back. I'm sure making a pretty sweet check to go with it. And he's got a lot of talent surrounding him. I mean, you look here, some notable additions from the portal for Auburn, Keyshawn Hall. He's a forward from UCF. Keyshawn Murphy, one of my favorites from DFS lore, the forward from Mississippi State last year. Kevin Overton, an underrated guard out of Texas Tech, really successful last year with that program. Then they got a couple of guys from the old JUCO and D2 ranks. You got Abdul Bashir coming in from the JUCO ranks, and then Elijah Freeman, really talented scorer. He's a forward. They also bring in, we talked about, we did the old international list. We did several of them this offseason because there's a massive movement toward the international player pool in college basketball over the last couple of years. So Filip Jovic coming in from Serbia. Also, can't forget the high schooler, Sebastian William Adams. He's a forward, number 44 on the 24/7 composite. And then Caden Magwood, guard number 60 on the 24/7 composite. So projected starters for me, Jay, obviously starts with Pettiford there at the 1. I think Overton you'll see at the 2 guard spot. Freeman, Hall, and Murphy, I think we'll see all 3 of those guys represent the front court there with Hall's ability to kind of he can handle the rock too, so kind of help that backcourt out with some of the ball handling. Now Torvik, here's like we did this with the first 10 teams. This is one of the biggest disparities. Torvik has this team 32nd, 36th. Now very balanced, 36th overall offensively, 34th overall defensively. For me, man, that's too low, obviously. I just think that when you look at the talent, when you look at what Tapad Bever is going to be able to do in year 2, when you look at what Bruce Pearl's done, when you look at their home court advantage in the jungle, I get it. It's the SEC, but they're going to be able to score the ball. They have a lot of toughness. They have a lot of outside shooting. The weakness here, Jay, last year they had a ton of continuity. They're not going to really have that this year. And then there's some concerns about potential fit because there's only one ball, and Keyshawn Hall likes to soak up a lot of usage. Pettiford's going to soak up a lot of usage. Just it's going to be kind of be one of those things where are they going to be able to figure out how to play with each other? Because last year's team, obviously, in the last couple of years, those guys were together. They could really do that. So just interesting times for this Auburn program, and I think you'll see a lot of different placement of them in the preseason from all different outlets.
It's probably going to be one of those teams that you see the widest range in polls and in people's opinion. And this is just, again, a super talented team. But depending on how you look at them, again, you're obviously very hot on Pettiford, very high on Pettiford in terms of him being that guy to lead this team. Super talented, obviously, and maybe some people want to see it sustained over the whole season. Who knows? But Pettiford definitely will get every opportunity to be that guy. Without further ado, let's get to the liveliest live chat in all of college basketball, Mike. And it wouldn't be one and done without our guy Darren. Happy belated Cooper Flag Day. Was it his birthday or something like that? I don't know. I'm sure whatever it was. Hey, yes, exactly. The Rockets won a game yesterday. Then they won again today. If they win tomorrow, it's called a winning streak. It has happened before. Very good, Darren. I will always work in a major league reference anytime I can. Oh, yes, and let's take one more shot at CBM's age before we move on here. That whole roster, that Auburn roster's average age was higher than Oklahoma City's, I believe. That's well documented at some point. We are not, maybe, depending on how this international stuff goes today, when we talk about these guys, we may still call them weak in the paint. And I agree that Pettiford is the man for sure. You and Mike and I are all in the same boat there. So why don't you join Darren in the live chat, hit that subscribe button and hop in there and let us know what you're feeling. Shout out to Darren, who's always interacting with us on the socials and on here as well. Always good to see him in the chat. All right, Mike, let's move on now to number 14, a team that, I still just don't know how to quit come bracket time, it might be a little bit easier now, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But it's the Arizona Wildcats of the Big 12. Yeah, still kind of weird to say that, but it is what it is. 14-6 in the Big 12 last year were the Wildcats, earning them a 4 seed, beating Akron and Oregon before losing to 1 seed Purdue in the Sweet 16. So not too shabby there for Arizona and coach Tommy Lloyd, who just like they lost to Duke in that Sweet 16 game. Tommy Lloyd, just like Bruce Pearl, has a bevy of talent to replace here, including Carter Bryant heading out for the draft. And then the reason why it'll be a little bit easier for me maybe to learn how to forget them. Well, Caleb Love no longer on campus there for the Wildcats. An end of an era.
A long era, very long era.
A very long era. And for Wildcat fans, it might feel longer than it actually was at times. Trey Townsend joining Caleb Love at graduation. And then in the portal, KJ Lewis joining Georgetown, and then Visar joining North Carolina as well, the big man. So now that my affinity for Love is null and void, where do we go here for Arizona, Mike? Like I mentioned, Coach Lloyd has plenty of talent that left campus, but unlike Auburn's situation, the Wildcats still have plenty of notable names sticking around to help boost those incoming players from the portal, high school ranks, the international waters like you talked about earlier. So what's Zona going to look like in the 25-26 season?
Yeah, well, we spotlighted them mainly from our high school shows that we did, because they're bringing in a lot of high school talent that we expect to fill in really big shoes. Now, we do have notable returners. We got Jaden Bradley, a really good point guard there for him, really good two-way point guard. Mo Krivas, who we think under Tommy Lloyd, he's always got these international bigs that kind of take the next step. Toby Awaka's back, so another big man. And Anthony Del Orso, we thought he would project to start last year, coming in from Campbell. Took him a little bit of time, showed some flashes towards the end of the year. Well, he's back for another season. In the portal, not very active. Evan Nelson, a guard from Harvard's coming over. He's more of a depth piece. Now, when we get to the international and high school guys, this is the guys that are going to be playing some heavy minutes and taking a bunch of shots. So for the international ranks, you had Ivan Karchenkov, from the forward from Germany, who they're expecting to start either at the 3 or the 4. CD Guy, the center from Senegal. And then those high school kids, man, Koa Pete, who was number 8 on the 24/7 composite. Braden Berries was at number 11. He's a really good shooting guard. Dwayne Arstodi, forward, number 31. And then we mentioned old Bryce James. Yes, the relation there. We'll see how that works out for him. We kind of talked about, we hope he kind of gets settled in. Don't think he's going to be a major part of the puzzle, but in a few years, I think he's going to be able to be a contributor for this program. So protected starters here, Jay Bradley at the 1, Berries, Karchenkov, Pete, and then Krivas, the big man in the middle there. Torvik has them at 14. So we're pretty much spot on with where Torvik is. 16th in offensive efficiency is the projection, 13th in defensive efficiency. The one thing about this Arizona team, the athleticism is going to absolutely jump off the page, but that's typically what happens when you bring in 5-star top 10 high school kids. So I think we're going to be able to see them get after it on both ends of the floor. A lot of upside to a lot of these guys, especially Mo Krivas. I'm expecting him to kind of take another leap here. The weakness, though, Jay, the youth, when you bring in a lot of these young kids from high school and just expect to plug them into heavy usage roles and high minutes. Yep. But obviously it's a different time, right? This isn't the 1980s and 70s, 60s where you're not playing freshmen. But sometimes it takes these guys a little bit of a while to develop, and we don't always see it pay dividends. But these are, Pete and Berries in particular, they're going to be given every chance to make it happen, and there's a pretty good chance they're going to be successful at it. But with that, it's going to come highs and lows. So we'll see how this Arizona program kind of deals with the youth of this program.
Kind of a unique situation in a sense that there's so many guys that played meaningful minutes that are actually coming back to this Arizona squad. So the additions that they didn't have to go portal hunting. Like there's so many guys that are already going to be there that have roles established. So when you look at the portal haul and it's Evan Nelson from Harvard, like baller, but like not, it doesn't blow the name off, it doesn't blow you out of the water. So it's like, well, how are they going to get it done? And when you rely on the international bigs, and then you dip into the high school. Some of these coaches aren't even messing with high school recruiting anymore. Tommy Lloyd is now going international and high school, hardly any in the portal, and is going to run it back here for the Wildcats. Good stuff there. Let's hop back in the live chat and see what's going on. Yes, Love Letters from Jay is the longest running segment on One and Done. I don't know who the new recipient will be now that Caleb Love is out. And honestly, maybe we retire it. But we will always know what the love in Love Letters truly means. And that's Caleb Love for sure. Look who it is, Johnny K. Well,
Johnny
you're here
K.
on the right night, Johnny K, and I hope you can stick around for the whole show because you may like what you hear towards the end of this thing. Sorry about your Nets.
Or may not like.
Or may not like, yeah, depending on how high you are on them. But if you're looking for a team that's ranked highly on this show, maybe stick around for a while. Good to see you there for sure. Mr. Brooks, always good to see you in the live chat as well. And then Darren, saying, 70s and 80s. Hey,
can't play the freshman. You can't play the freshman.
Mike and I grew up watching 80s basketball and long for the days of physicality for sure. We'll never be back there again, but just like we'll never be back to college basketball, just being about the fun. All about the money now, and that's all right. There's a lot of money to be had. So good stuff there for the Wildcats for sure. Heading back to the SEC now for our number 13 team, Mike. It's the Alabama Crimson Tide. Went 28-9 last year, 13-5 in the SEC, which was good enough for a third place finish in a very, very tough conference. Got them a 2 seed, right? They beat Robert Morris, St. Mary's, BYU, maybe a team that we'll hear about soon. Who knows? And then Duke, another victim of Duke here, was Alabama in the tournament. Head coach Nate Oates, Mike, losing some big names to graduation, including a lot of people argued was the best point guard in the country in Mark Sears last year. Definitely in the conversation for a while. Their top 3 guy, in my opinion, for sure. And then you got Chris Youngblood, big-time contributor there in the backcourt alongside Sears. And then, a couple of big men that, although frustrating to play from a DFS perspective, when we talk about Grant Nelson and Cliff Amore, these are 2 guys that are impact players for sure that are now out the door when it comes to, and that was all just guys that graduated, right? From the portal, Darian Reed is now in Oklahoma. Jaron Stevenson is now wearing Carolina blue. Mo Diabate is at Kentucky. And Nas Cunningham is suiting up for the Running Rebs. So who's coming back, Mike? There's a handful of names that I know we're going to recognize that were contributors, but when you think about Nate Oates and the amount of guys that he plays, you're going to see a lot of names that you recognize that definitely contributed last year. So how's he going to, shuffle around the deck chairs there with the guys coming back, and who did he bring onto campus?
Yeah, so one name that we didn't expect to be on this side, which is the returning side, was LeBaron Philon. Pretty much everyone thought he was 90 to 95% locked to go to the NBA draft. Kind of stunned everyone late in the process by pulling his name out, and that is a big reason why we do have Alabama up here is ranked so highly, because before that, we were probably looking in the high teens, maybe even into the 20s. But you bring this kid back, and now all of a sudden you look at this backcourt. You did lose Mark Sears, but now you have Philon to go with Aiden Holloway, who's one of the best shooting guards in the entire country. Came off the bench, could have started at a ton of places last year. Oh, and then also there's Latrell Wrightsell, who got hurt last year. Guess what? He's back. Houston Millette, who had a really good career at Pepperdine, he got a medical red shirt last year. So you did lose Sears, the young blood in that backcourt, but you're returning, guys within the program and really, really talented guys. So all of a sudden that backcourt looks really good. Aiden Sherrill also coming back, the big man. In the portal, you're looking at Taylor Bowen, a player that we are really high on, forward from Florida State. Jalil Bethea, a player with a lot of upside, but in that Miami program, just like Florida State, just unrealized potential for those 2 guys. So a lot of upside swings here for Coach Oates. And then Noah Williamson, we'll see how his transition from Bucknell goes. Patriot League Player of the Year last year. The big man, 7-footer. We'll see if he's able to keep up with the tempo that Nate Oates wants to play with. I think he can be more of like a 12 to 14 minute bench guy for them at that center position. So some notable additions from the high school ranks: London Jemison, Davion Hanna, 2 top 50 guys. And then Amari Allen also at number 65 on the 24/7 composite. So the way I see it, Jay, you got Phylon starting at the 1, Holloway at the 2, Reitzel slides right back into to the 3. You got Bowen there at the 4, and then Aiden Sherrill, who has a lot of upside but had some fouling issues last year. So that's where I also think Noah Williamson and his transition from Bucknell to Alabama is going to play a significant impact here. So Torvik, 19th, Jay. Look at this, 20th in offensive efficiency, 20th in defensive efficiency. For me, the strength here, shooting. This team is going to be able to shoot the ball. That is a native specialty. You got to run, and you got to be able to shoot. Shot creation, Aiden Holloway and LeBaron Phylon can get any shot they want late in the clock. You got depth now with all these guys coming back, medical red shirts, transfer portal guys that are coming in, high school guys that are highly ranked. Some weaknesses here. They're going to be a little bit young as far as their depth. And then, you do have question marks on the transfer portal. I mean, Noah Williamson, like I just said, Bucknell, Taylor Bull-Bowen. How does he transition from that Florida State program? Jalil Bethea, everybody's really high on him. But he took some questionable shots last year. Had a little bit of an AJ Storr from what I've watched of him, which is a little bit scary. But then you put that type of guy, maybe a Nate Oates offense, maybe it unlocks him. So there definitely are some questions on some of these transfers here, Jay.
Yeah, Darren saying Diabate is the biggest loss. Do you agree with that? Like, is that
huge, man?
You're on the same page then.
I thought he was perfect for this system, man. Like, if you had Diabate at the 4, this would probably be a top 8 type team. So I'm not saying that Taylor Bull-Bowen, he's got a lot of upside. We'll just have to see his transition over from that Florida State program. I think he's going to be really good.
Good stuff there, Darren. Thanks for hanging out with us in the live chat. Hop in there with him and Mr. Brooks and everybody. We see you guys and gals lingering out there in the lobby. Just hop in the live chat. Just say what's up. Drop some fire emojis in there or something. Just say what to do, whatever you want to say. It doesn't matter. Shout out your team. Darren will shout out Mean Green here in a minute. He will go Mean Green. GMG, shout him out for sure. Nothing wrong with that. Let us know who your team is in the live chat. We'd love to hear from you for sure. Let us know if you think Diabate is the biggest loss here that Nate Oates is going to have to overcome. Right there, peanut butter posse, right there. He's got to right on time. You start talking about a player that ends up at Kentucky, and then you hear peanut butter posse coming in.
We hear peanut butter posse jumping in with the WNBA chat here with Sophie Cutting. It's beautiful. What a chat.
More relevant than you guys know when it comes to Mike. Probably, I don't know if he's got Cunningham in a lineup right now or not. But, shout out to you, peanut butter posse, for hanging out with us. We definitely appreciate you. Always. I don't think Chuck Person has any eligibility left, Darren. But we know that if he did, he would shoot the lights out of the gym and would fit right in with Nate Oates, honestly, getting up and down and shooting the ball. But I think Person is all out. Just I have some eligibility left, Mike. Who knows if we need some. somebody needs 5 minutes, and I can get up a few 3-pointers in that time frame. No defense though. But maybe we'll just skip it and go right into Arkansas here, who happens to be the number 12 team in our countdown. Moving right along here. Got a 10 seed last year, only 8-10 in the very tough SEC. But, of course, found a way to upset Kansas and, cover your ears, Johnny K, St. John's before losing to 3-seed Texas Tech in the Sweet 16. So getting to the second weekend there, and Coach John Calipari's first season at the helm in Fayetteville. It's Coach Cal. Nobody surprised his team made it to the Sweet 16. It's not a surprise that he found a way to take a ton of talent that looked like they should have dominated, and then they couldn't get it to mesh. Still found a way to get them to the Sweet 16. It just speaks volumes, and in terms of how good of a coach he is. And then you look now, Mike. These 5 players that are out the door are like some who's who in college basketball in terms of talent. Edu Tiero, obviously going to the draft, and then Jonas Adu and John L. Davis, super, super talented guys heading out because of graduate. Just fine, they tried. I'm sure they tried every single way where they could possibly.
It's like the guy Ziegler today.
Yeah, exactly. But alas, Adu and Davis are out the door, and then Big Z out the door. But with eligibility left, hit the portal, and now we'll play at Illinois, and then Don't blame it on the sunshine. Don't blame it on the moonlight. Don't blame it on the good times. Blame it on Boogie. Boogie Fland is going to play for the Gators now and not Coach Cal. There was maybe a little writing on the wall there. But either way, Mike, this is Coach Cal. You know there's a ton of talent on this roster in Fayetteville, and he's going to get the most out of them. What are your thoughts? Obviously, we're very high on Arkansas, having them at number 12.
Yeah.
A team with some guys coming back, some guys coming in. And again, just Coach Cal's just going to take this big pot of talented gumbo and see what he can pull out of it.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing, like Kansas, we say it's an upset, right? 10-7. But honestly, if you look at how the two teams were coming in the last few weeks of the season, you would definitely say Arkansas had the most talent and had the better team. So you named all those guys. I mean, Diarra, Adu, Davis, Visage, Fland, gone. You would think, oh, man. But it's kind of weird. You're actually returning. This is really, really talented team last year. You hate to see a 10 seed with this type of talent. DJ Wagner is back. Carter Knox returned from the draft. He's back. Trevon Brazil is back. Billy Richmond, a former 5-star, is back for his sophomore year. So, man, that right there is awesome. And then Cal jumps into the portal, grabs one of our favorite players, Malik Ewan, the center from Florida State, who we think can do some things. Nick Pringle, the enigmatic Nick Pringle here, forward from South Carolina, who can look like $1 million, or it could also be sitting on the bench with 2 fouls in the first 90 seconds of the game.
So quick.
We'll see his role probably going to be coming off the bench and providing some energy minutes, and he's a really, really good player when he's on the floor. But yeah, you put that with international players. You got Igor Razov, the forward from Russia. Elmore's, I think it's Zavak, the center from Bosnia, and Kareem Rattel, the forward from Lebanon. All these guys have done some things overseas, so you expect some contribution there. But really, Jay, it's going to be this backcourt that they're bringing in from the high school range. Darius Acuff, the guard, number 5 overall, 24/7. Malik Thomas, the guard, number 12 overall, 24/7. Isaiah Seeley's also in this class. He's a wing near the top 100 here. Hey, look, projected starters. You're going to obviously have Wagner in that backcourt. Acuff is going to be kind of the new Boogie Fland. Richmond Knox will probably fight it out to start at the 3. Brazil is probably locked into that 4 spot, and then Ewan will start at the 5, and then you'll probably see our guy Nick Pringle spell him. So the strengths of this team: size, athleticism, their shot creation. Those are all things that they had last year. So they weren't a typical 10 seed. The weakness on this squad, when I'm looking at it, man, outside shooting. Is there going to be enough? And I think that's going to limit some of the ceiling of this program this year. But I mean, overall, these guys get off the bus, you're like, oh man, this is not really a team that you're probably going to want to face.
That's definitely a don't watch them get off the bus type of a team, right? I 100% agree with that assessment. Can they put it all together? Who knows? But it does sound like the Tyson Chicken Mafia running out of patience out there. Big time Arkansas donors want to bring a championship out there to Fayetteville. And, maybe Coach Cal's the guy. Maybe he's not. If anybody can do it out there, it's probably him, to be quite honest. But look who it is. It's our guy, C.T. Huggin, C. Thuggin Cam, a man of many names. What up, dude? CC is a dog. Roll Fever. Let's talk. Yeah, man. Good to see you in the live chat. Always good to see Cam there for sure. Johnny, I hope you didn't spend too long looking for the cover your ears emoji. It looks like you did. But either way, good to see you around there for
and the live chat doing live chat things,
Yeah, live chat being lively. That's why we call it the liveliest live chat in all of college hoops. I mean, it is what it is. It's facts. Okay, so hop in there with the crew. Anxious to hear what they have to say about our number 11 team, Mike, the UConn Huskies. After back-to-back natties, anything less than a ring can sort of feel like a letdown, right? But last year's UConn team hardly resembled those of the championship squads. 14-6 in the Big East, only good enough for third place in the conference. I say only good enough when you're used to greatness and domination on an annual basis for year on year on year. 14-6 all of a sudden doesn't seem so hot, and it only got them an 8 seed. Obviously, not what Florida wanted to see on their 8 line opposite of them, but still, as we know now, took care of business in the second round there to dispatch UConn's hopes for a 3rd championship in a row. Head coach of the Huskies, of course, everyone's favorite press conference soundbite, Dan Hurley, who I will make sure to remind you, turned down LeBron James to stay at UConn and coach that UConn team to that finish last year. But hey, you do you, Dan. For sure, got yourself a nice little raise, and you got yourself a lot of talent on this team still, even though you lost quite a bit. It's so hard to maintain this. You talked about LeBron James' son earlier, like being one of those guys that isn't the guy that is just like gonna come in and immediately just blow, But there's something to be said about Bryce James coming in and staying on campus for year after year after year and developing a game, developing in a system, and we don't see that a ton, and we're seeing a lot of guys leaving the Razorbacks here. We're on the Huskies here. Liam McNeely to the draft. Hassan Diarra and Samson Johnson graduated, and then some big losses in the portal, namely Aiden Mahaney, big loss in the backcourt there for Coach Hurley, and then Ahmad Noel going to VCU, and Isaiah Abraham hitting up the Hoyas of Georgetown. How are you feeling about UConn? I mean, obviously 11 is a pretty good ranking for a team that finished as an 8 seed and really didn't look like themselves. I mean, it feels like that was probably an aberration. Like all jokes aside, all trash talk aside, Dan Hurley's a great basketball coach.
Yeah.
And fitting of having his team ranked number 11 in our poll.
Yeah, man. I think when you look at Torvik too, they're right there with us. 11th, fifth in offensive efficiency, 23rd in defensive efficiency. So you got Solo Ball returning in the backcourt, a nice 2-way guard. Alex Caravan is back, a lot of experience, great 3-point shooter. Terrace Reed, who we begged, like he needs to touch the ball in this offense for it to be successful. He's back and should be the starting center for this team. So they'll probably see Caravan and Reed as the starting 4-5 there with Ball at the 2. Because they are bringing in Silas DeMary, the guard from Georgia, who should be the primary point guard. And I think a significant upgrade over DR. Malachi Smith, a really, really good player from Dayton coming through in that backcourt as well. I think he'll probably be somebody that comes off the bench because you got high school talent. Out the door was McNeely. Well, in comes, Braylon Mullins, a guard, number 13 overall in the 24/7 composite. Eric Reeby is a center. He's number 32 on the composite there. And the number 95, Jacob Furphy, is a forward. So, I think this team has a little more depth because you also had Jalen Stewart and Jaden Ross return. So, guys that are familiar with the system, you have some continuity there. You're going to be able to score the ball. I think they're going to be with Silas DeMary running the point. Man, there were times last year, Jay, remember we were talking about, like, Silas DeMary looked like a top 2 or 3 guard in the, in the SEC. So, I mean, It's kind of like one of those things, man, where I think by having DeMary there at the 1, having Ball another year developed, I do worry about Caravan and Reed as a defensive unit. That is probably not the ideal, and 23rd defensive efficiency. That might be a little bit high. I could see this being more of a 50s, 60s, which that would be the issue with this team right here. We saw it last year.
Got him in trouble last year. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I think if they can figure out the team defense concept, you don't have a Klingon there, you don't have a Stephen Castle there. Like, people don't talk about that. Now they got DeMary the big point again. They had the big point in Tristan Newton. Then they had the small point in Diarra. You get a little bit bigger in the backcourt now with Ball and DeMary, which takes some of that backcourt defensive pressure off. But now it's like, how do you stop guys from scoring in the paint? It's going to be tough. These guards are going to have to be really, really superior defensively, I think, for this team to hold an 11 ranking, man. But offensive upside, I think, is off the charts for these guys.
It is, and that's going to be the thing that helps them get through. The live chat, Mike, probably not to your surprise, is little bit, not really feeling UConn, honestly. Dan Hurley, aka Hannibal Lecter. I don't know if I'd go that far. I don't know. It's maybe Johnny K hitting us with the puke con. Shout out with that. You found the puke emoji, Johnny. You didn't have to look too. Did you have that one on save? Like, is that a frequently used one? Do you already have the puke one? You don't have the ears to cover one. That's okay. Darren saying that the Big East belongs to St. John's now. UConn is yesterday's news. I think that they would like to have a word before they just pass that baton on to St. John's. I'm not counting Coach Hurley out for sure. No doubt about it. All right, good stuff there. Everybody keeping the live chat rolling. We appreciate that. Good to see everybody hanging out with us. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons for sure. Show us some love, your broskies in basketball at One and Done CBB on all the socials. But most importantly, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. WON_DONE college basketball. Type it all in there to the search bar on YouTube and hit all those buttons that you need to do, including the notification bell, so you don't miss a minute of our college basketball coverage. All right, number 11 down, 15 through 11 down, as a matter of fact. Moving on now to team numero 10 here, number 10 on our top 25, none other than UCLA. The Bruins, another team that I'm not used to their new conference yet, the Big Ten residing UCLA Bruins. 13-7 out there in Big Ten country last year. Good enough for a 7 seed. And they took out Utah State before losing to Tennessee in the second round. Head coach Mick Cronin out there losing Kobe Johnson to graduation. And then Dylan Andrews, big old name in the portal there, heading out to Boise. And then Ade Mara following suit and leaving, going to Michigan. Sebastian Mack, William Kyle, Dominic Harris, all leaving as well. I wanted to focus on one incoming guy specifically, Mike, and then getting your opinion on everybody else coming back. Earlier today, John Rothstein reported that Mick Cronin's going to play Xavier Booker, who's coming over from Michigan State. Booker's going to play primarily at the 5 for Mick Cronin, even though he played power forward mostly for 2 years under Tom Izzo. What are your thoughts on Booker, Mike, the rest of the incoming players, and then the Bruins returning for another year under Coach Cronin?
Yeah, so I think the front court here, this is it's kind of a weird transfer because you're coming to a front court that is returning Eric Daly and Tyler Bilodeau. So by Cronin saying he's going to play Xavier Booker at the 5, I think it's more of at Michigan State. We saw Carson Cooper come in as the 5. Booker would kind of come in as the 4. I think he still has this bench role because there's no way right now we have Daly and Bilodeau projected at the 4-5. I think by bringing in Xavier Booker, a guy that was a 5-star, it's kind of been untapped talent for the last couple of years. There's been some documented things, at Michigan State that were going on, looking for a fresh start. I don't know how different Tom Izzo or Mick Cronin's going to be from Tom Izzo. So the whole transfer was kind of a question mark, right? But if he's willing to, let him play the 5 and he can use his outside shooting ability, use his athleticism, which is what he was known in high school, and really put some of these 5s on skates, then that could potentially, lead Booker to becoming the player that we all thought he was going to be a couple of years ago when we were hyping him up as the best player in one of the top recruiting classes for Michigan State. So I think overall, why we have this team as top 10 is Daly, Bilodeau, and then having someone like Booker coming in off the bench. Like that is a fearsome, front line there. So I do like that front line here for Coach Cronin. The big news of the offseason, Donovan Dent, the guard from New Mexico, was at one point the number 1 player on our transfer portal big board and finished up in the top 5 for us. Coming from New Mexico, goes back home. They needed this. Like, it's been no secret that UCLA's offense the last couple of years, Dylan Andrews, I think he's a solid player. I think he's going to do well at Boise State. Donovan Dent is going to allow them to pressure the rim, shoot threes, create open looks for guys. You put him next to an Eric Daly and you put him next to a Tyler Bilodeau. I mean, this looks like a really good offense. And Torvik kind of agrees. Torvik actually has his team ranked 7th in the preseason, 9th in offensive efficiency, 14th in defensive efficiency. So a big reason why is because you're bringing back Daily Bilodeau to go with Dent, and then they have some depth to kind of go with it. You've got Jamar Brown, a wing from Kansas City, and then you got notable high school addition Eric Freeney here, the guard, number 142. I don't know how much he's going to factor. Sky Clark is back as well, so I predict the stars to be Dent at the 1, Clark at the 2, Brown at the 3, and then Daily Bilodeau with a little bit of depth behind it. I think the weakness of this team is like overall size because Booker, more of a finesse type player, right? This is really going to be a guard wing oriented team, even though 2 of their 3 best players are going to be perceived bigs, but how are they going to be able to defend? And that's something that Mick Cronin is going to ask for. Bring in Donovan Dent, Jay. I'm at the point guard position. It's college basketball, guards. We saw what he did for the New Mexico program. Yeah, man, they got weapons on this team. They're going to be able to shoot from the outside, which is something they hadn't been able to do over the course of the last couple of years. So, yeah, we'll see. I think a top 5 ceiling for this squad if they put it all together.
No doubt about it. Let's hop in the live chat real quick. Looks like Cam is ready to diagnose UCLA's problems. If anything like last year, it's going to be Cronin not being able to figure out the rotation. Hey,
he gets so mad. He gets so mad at these kids. Like sometimes it's like, dude, like let them make a mistake.
Yeah, and that quick trigger sometimes can hurt a confidence, can hurt the flow, can make you feel like, oh, can I not make a mistake ever? If he's yanking him, I don't know how well Booker will handle that. But obviously, I think you know what you're getting into here, and especially in a situation like you said, Mike, an already crowded front court, a lot of talent there. We'll see how he divvies up those minutes for sure. Anything else here? All right, yeah, there we go. Darren just letting us Darren doubling down there on Cronin and his rotation there. All right, good stuff. Hop in there with Cam and Darren and everybody else in the live chat. Johnny K as well. We're getting to St. John's, Johnny. Don't go anywhere. But first, we were at number 10. Now let's go right on to number 9 in our top 25. Shout out Big Blue Nation. It's the Kentucky Wildcats. I'm glad Peanut Butter Posse is with us tonight to talk about Kentucky. Let us know if we're a little high, a little low there. Want to know what you think. But first, Mike, 10-8 in the SEC last year. And friend of the show, Mark Pope's first season as head coach at his
Here we go. Already.
Here we go. Good to see it. Stick with us, Peanut Butter Posse. But yeah, first year for Mark Pope there in Lexington. And obviously the key to getting a job at your blue blood alma mater is to have an interview with us here on One and Done. And then 2 years later, you get hired at Kentucky. So shout out to Coach Pope for joining us. Go back and check that after you're done watching us right now. But yeah, man, 3 seed for Coach Pope in his first year. Not too shabby for Kentucky, falling to 2 seed Tennessee, fellow SEC school in the Sweet 16. Jackson Robinson, gone. Lamont Butler, gone. Amari Williams, out. Andrew Carr, out. Colby Brea, out. All wore the old cap and gown for graduation, or at least they're out of eligibility. I don't know if they've actually earned the diplomas or not. Not judging, I promise, but they're out of eligibility. Okay. And then from the portal, Kirk Risa, that was oil and water and never panned out. He wasn't on the floor. Shout out Kirk Risa for still somehow, I'm sure, getting paid by Cincinnati, but whatever. Good luck to you. And then Travis Perry playing for Ole Miss now instead of the Wildcats. But I wanted to ask you, Mike, of all those guys out the door, which of these shoes are the biggest to fill for the Wildcats? And let me know a little bit about the guys that will be in Lexington for Coach Pope's second season to try to get this program back to championship form.
Yeah, it's tough for me, Jay. I mean, it's between Lamont Butler, just his toughness, man. Like, just watching him battle through without a shoulder last year with this team. His defense, right? I think Amari Williams, Coach Pope loves that hub 5. So I guess if I had to answer, probably Jaden Quaintance, who was one of the top portal pickups, filling in as that 5 man is going to be critical. Notable for his commitment to Arizona State, the money that went with it. Being a 17-year-old, now a year in the system, coming off an injury, going to take him some time. So we'll see. I think he's kind of the key really to the entire season for this team. Now, there's a lot of talent out the door, but they had some guys come back. Otega Owe, that was a huge keep, and he shot. We weren't high on him at all last year as far as a transfer from Oklahoma. Defensively we were, but offensively he blew up last year. So you've got him as a number 1 type option. Brandon Garrison's back, who is a really solid big. Colin Chandler's back. I thought he flashed a little bit in the backcourt. This portal haul is really good. Jalen Lowe, the guard from Pitt, that's your lead guard. He'll be starting at the 1. Denzel Aberdeen, I expect him to start. Left the Florida program, coming off a national title. 3 years in that program. He's a winner. Mo Diabate, we already talked about him earlier in the show. Dynamic 4-man. Jaden Quainton's there at the center spot. So that's probably going to be your starting lineup, which bumps Cam Williams, who's the top 50 transfer for us, down to the bench. Really nice freshman here at Tulane. So, yeah, man, just a ton of talent, man. I know Peanut Butter Posse got onto us about Andrea Jelic, the forward from Croatia, not being spotlighted from some of our international lists that we had out there. And then, of course, you're going to get high school talent whenever you're at Kentucky. Jasper Johnson, number 20 on the 24/7, and Malachi Moreno, number 28. So a ton of talent here, man. Torvik has them at 13th. Torvik a little don't know about the offensive upside. 24th, right? 7th in defense, which we thought they were going to be a defensive juggernaut last year. They couldn't defend anything. And now you bring in, Acquaintance, one of the top shot blockers in the country. Diabate, super athletic. Otega Owe, which is weird. They had Owe, Butler, and Williams last year and couldn't stop anybody. So I think we see these guys play better defense. We'll see. Jalen Lowe's going to have to make some outside shots. We'll see how Aberdeen does as more of a primary piece and probably the starting lineup here, man. Jay, that's a lot of bodies, man. Who do you play? How many guys do you play? Is there going to be some connectivity with all these additions, man?
And that's Peanut Butter Posse's point about maybe people in his mind aren't paying attention to the depth. No, we get that there's depth there. Like, there's no doubt about it. And the defense does look like it has been a little bit more overhauled. There was that we always talked about the Olay bullshit that we used to see every once in a while, like from some of those guys that you named earlier. But this is a different looking defensive team. At least it should be on paper. And you mentioned Torvik has them ranked 7th in the country in defense. And honestly, I feel like if this team is going to reach its full potential, it's going to need to be even better. This is going to be a team that's going to need to be known for their defense, and then everything else comes around it. We'll see if that's the case. Again, obviously, Coach Pope is doing a nice job of getting these guys on campus. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, and they have a true point guard this year. We don't have to have the discussion of who's going to play point guard. Jalen Lowe is your point guard. We've seen it in the ACC. A lot of question marks should be resolved. Year 2 for Mark Pope, Jay. I think needs to make some things happen.
Do you remember? I'm old enough to remember when we were talking about Kirk Risa possibly being the point guard for this team. I remember Pepperidge Farm remembers that was about a year ago today, probably, as we were talking about it. And we didn't know it ended up, Lamont Butler had a great season. He ended up having a great season and ended up being that guy. And I think Peanut Butter Postley actually was saying, he was sort of keen on Butler from the start being that guy.
Yeah.
But it was unsure. It wasn't a clear-cut guy in that position. And now like you said, Mike, Lowe sort of, that's your dude, man. Like, that's your guy. Who knows? Peanut Butter Posse saying he's heard rumblings of full court press. Obviously, you want to be physical on defense. This is the SEC. You can't play Olay defense and just think you're going to be able to score 85 points a night. Like, it doesn't work that way in that conference. You're going to have to, bang around with some teams on any given night and be able to dish it and take it. So this does look like a team that's better equipped to do that. We'll see if that ends up going that way in the long run. Cam hopping in there. UNC played really well down the stretch against elite teams in Hubert's first year too. Let's see how it plays. Hey, I mean, this is why, again, that stretch after that is why I have never been high on Hubert Davis again. I have no idea how you go to the national championship game one year and then miss a tournament. Although we saw it happen to a Final Four team last year, and so I guess it's more common than not. I guess, but yeah. Shout out to Cam for bringing up for always fitting UNC into the conversation somehow, and shout out to Peanut Butter Posse for defending the old Big Blue Nation all the way to the death. Hey man, I get it. Like, a lot of teams can say that though. To be honest,
yeah,
like, I mean,
368 teams in the country.
Like, there's a lot. I get your point though, man. Like, top to bottom, if you're saying 1 to 14, you're one of the better rosters in the country. I can agree with you, but I got to see it on both ends of the floor in a tough conference on a night in and night out basis. Like, I mean, okay, so who do you have here? You've got Lowe, Aberdeen, Owe, Diabate,
yep,
and Quaintance. Yeah, that lines right up with what Mike said. Yeah, so you've got Aberdeen at the 2, whatever. Those are the guys out of the wing.
2-3 or whatever.
Yeah, 2 whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. They're out there doing their thing. So shout out to you, Peanut Butter Posse, for. I'm glad you were here on the Kentucky night, man. Even though it probably wasn't as high, obviously, as you wanted them to be. That's all right. Shout out, nonetheless. Hit those like and subscribe buttons so you can hop in there with Darren, who is trying to provoke me by invoking more Rodney Terry talk that I refuse to address. But I will address Texas Tech and the old Red Raiders coming in at number 8 in our top 25. Grant McCaslin, who obviously, filled in. Man, I'm not going to get into the old Chris Beard stuff and then the next question. And then all of that, aside here, Grant McCaslin sort of shoveled it all together. A rabid fan base, a fan base eager to get back to winning again, just like Chris Beard had them in a very, very short amount of time and playing very high-level basketball. And I got to say, man, he got him back to that point last year. 15-5 in the Big 12, 28-9 overall. Good enough to earn them a 3 seed, beat UNC Wilmington, Drizzy Drake, and then Arkansas in the Sweet 16 before bowing out to another victim of Florida here in the Elite 8. So shout out to Grant McCaslin for an Elite 8 run in his second year, now entering his third year at the helm in Lubbock. Losing Elijah Hawkins, Chance McMillan, and Kerwin Walton to graduation. And then in the portal, Darian Williams playing for NC State now. Yeah, right. That one stings a little bit. Fetty 2 times, as we like to call him around these parts, now playing for the Aggies of A&M. And then Kevin Overton joining Auburn's backcourt. So a really, really solid program still. There was the remnants were there. The embers were still there to spark that flame for Texas Tech out in Lubbock. Grant McCaslin's done a nice job, Mike. Who's going to be on campus for him next year, and how do you think they're going to finish?
Man, Texas Tech is another one of those teams where we're going to see them all over the map on preseason lists. Here's the thing. JT Toppin is back. That guy's really good at basketball. I'm surprised that he's back. He's the reigning Big 12 Player of the Year. So yeah, go ahead and just pencil in your 20 and 10 next year. The Darian Williams loss, that hurts. But what did McCaslin go out and do? He went out and got basically the same type of player. He went out and got LaJuan Watts from Washington State. If you guys haven't seen LaJuan Watts play, he pretty much plays like Darian Williams. Like, he's like Darian Williams light. So I think he's a great fit next to JT Toppin in the front court. I would expect Watts, because his versatility, like Darian Williams, to actually play probably the 3 or start at the 3 because he can pass, he can shoot it. I think Bang Boye, one of the top freshmen in the A-10 last year, he's a forward from VCU. I think he could start at the 5. They have so much versatility on this team. With Toppin, Christian Anderson looked really nice last year. He should be starting there at the point guard position. Also coming in from the portal with Watts, Tyree Bryan, a guard with a lot of experience from Santa Clara, Donovan Atwell, who he'll be in the running to start as well from UNC Greensboro. I think he's a really solid addition. Josiah Mosley, he's got some untapped talent at forward there from Villanova. The international, they went out and got Ben Henshaw from Australia. I believe he still needs clearance, but probably get that. They have a guy, Mario Akuntak, a forward from Canada. He enrolled in the spring, did one of those things where he redshirted. So yeah, man, they have some talent. I would expect Anderson, Bryan, Watts, Toppin, Bangboya to be the starting five there. Now Torvik, 27th, right? So this is another team that we're way higher on. We're really factoring in the Toppin, the Watts fit, Anderson taking a step forward, Bryant having been a solid player in the WCC over the last year, Bangboye being an underrated five that can block shots, that is just going into his sophomore year. I'm surprised at the defensive efficiency at 35th. I don't agree with that. I think it's more because you're running Bryant and Anderson in the backcourt. There's not a lot of size, but he didn't have a lot last year. It was Elijah Hawkins, who was like 5'9". I know he's a pest though, as far as getting steals and things like that. So, look, man, you have a Player of the Year candidate, National Player of the Year candidate. You've got shooting, you've got versatility. Depth may be a little bit of a concern, Jay, but overall, I think they deserve a top 10 start to the year.
Another one of those teams, like you said, with the wide range of rankings preseason wise. I think that we'll see people that won't have Texas Tech in their top 20. I think that's a mistake, but I do think that that's going to be more common than I would like to say. But we feel very strongly about the Red Raiders top 10 team. And Darren likes to talk about those automatic double-doubles in the DFS streets, and that's what JT Toppin is for sure. It's going to be hard to find a guy priced more than him, I imagine. And Darren,
he's going to be up there.
Darren sticking to his guns. Second time he's put in the live chat, he will not be playing Jaden Epps in DFS next season. He's got 500 of them to write on the chalkboard like Bart Simpson. I will not play Jaden Epps in DFS. I will not play Jaden Epps in DFS. Attaboy, Darren. You're doing a great job. All right. Like and subscribe, everybody. Why don't you do that and join Peanut Butter Posse, who's going to continue to tell us why Kentucky should be ranked higher, including giving us attractiveness scales of all of the girls that the guys took to prom, and because they were all 10s, they should be ranked higher. Something like that. Who knows? But no,
still going off.
Yeah, I know. And that's okay. Keep it going, Peanut Butter Posse. No, Darren, I'm not taking shots at the Dirt Farmers for sure. That's a nicer name than I've been known to call the Red Raiders in my day, but I'll stick with that one to keep it PG, I guess, if you will, G-rated, whatever it is. I think they're great, and I think they're going to be good again next year under Coach McCasland. And another team that I think is going to be great is BYU, coming in at number 7 in our top 25 rankings. Another Big 12 team. This is absolutely riddled with Big 12 and SEC schools. Is our top 25. Obviously, BYU in the Big 12 here, 14-6 in the conference last year, 26-10 overall. Good enough to earn a 6th seed, taking out VCU and Wisconsin before falling to 2-seed Alabama in the Sweet 16. So Kevin Young obviously filling those shoes that Mark Pope left and doing very, very well for himself. We knew the boos were coming. The boo birds are out, having BYU ahead of Kentucky. But looking at this roster, Mike, this is shaping up. And this isn't just a matter of the guys that are coming back. There's obviously a lot of talent there, but this is one of those times where you look at the high school talent coming in, guys that are going to play immediately and make an impact. Like, Yegor Demon obviously headed off to the draft. That hurts a little bit in terms of just losing that talent. Trevin Nell, Traore, Mag, all gone out, all graduating. And then Dallin Hall, the most BYU name possible ever for a player, Dallin Hall, actually going out to Virginia to play now. And then Cannon Catchings playing for the Bulldogs of Georgia. So, Mike, we're obviously very high on BYU, having them at number 7 in our top 25. A ton of talent coming back. They got a little bit of portal help as well. Yeah. And big-time pull for Kevin Young from the high school ranks, including the number 1 recruit in all the country. How are you feeling about the Cougars?
Yeah, you just mentioned it, right? Like, kind of what you want is you want a good mix of key players returning, key additions from the portal. It also helps having the number 1 high school player. So, yeah, and what they did last year, and it was year 1 of a Kevin Young system coming over from the NBA, right? Like, that Alabama game was so much fun to watch. Like, just both teams just shooting threes left and right. So Richie Saunders, obviously a huge breakout star in the Big 12 last year. Going to be one of the top players in the country at this wing spot. Keba Keita, who we've really liked in his days at Utah, was really an enforcer there at the 5. He's back. So expect, obviously, them to take their starting positions again this year. Dawson Baker, who came over from UC Irvine a couple of years ago, under that, he's in that really good team that Coach Turner had when we interviewed him. He had just lost Dawson Baker. He had just lost DJ Davis. So, yeah, I mean, we know he comes from a winning program. He's been in this BYU program. He flashed a lot in limited minutes last year. Boscovich, the center, he's back. So your 5 is pretty much set again. The portal, man, Rob Wright, and I don't know all the talk, Coach Drew and everything, said what he said. Hey, this is college basketball, man. Rob Wright, 5-star player, really nice player for Baylor last year. He's going to start at point guard for BYU this year. So a great addition here. Kennard Davis, the wing from Southern Illinois, is a solid player. Tyler Murray from Idaho is a forward. But we got to talk about AJ Devonta. I mean, do we have to? Because he's been talked about pretty much all year, right? His commitment, the NIL, his upside. He's going to come in. He's going to light it up. He's going to be a top 3 pick in the NBA draft the following year. You slot that next to Wright, next to Baker, next to Saunders, next to Keita. This is a really, really good roster. We can't forget Xavier Stanton. He's number 33. He's a forward on the 24/7 composite from the high school ranks as well. So Torvik has this team 8th, second in offensive efficiency. That's because these guys can do everything. Wright, Baker, Devonta, Saunders, they can literally do everything. And then Keita as your enforcer at the 5. They got athletes. They got shot making. They got outside shooting. The weakness here, continuity, right? It's there for some of these guys, but then you add in someone like Rob Wright who wants to be, a number 1 or number 2, Devonta who has to be a number 1 with Saunders. Can they find their roles, Jay? As you always like to say, man, some guys gotta take a step back here, man. As Johnny K said, yeah, BYU literally looks nothing like they were in our youth. Absolutely not. This is hyping up Provo. I mean, come on, man. Let's be real, guys. This is a ridiculously looking team that just added more athleticism. More athleticism with Devonta and Wright coming over on both ends.
Both sides of the ball. This is going to be one of those teams that is going to be – this would be a case study of, completely, you go for it. To Johnny's point about BYU not being – like they were, they're not like they were a decade ago, right?
Yeah,
this isn't even 20, 30 years. This is a completely different ball game, no pun intended, for BYU. And obviously, when you're recruiting, you get the number 1 high school recruit in the country to Provo. The times they are changing. A wise man once said, and BYU landing at number 7 in our top 25 preseason poll, or rankings, I guess I should say, definitely showcases that. Hit those like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. We see you hanging out with us, and we appreciate that, but push that button. Doesn't take much. Boop. Subscribe. Turn on the notification bells, too. Do yourself a favor, because even though right now it's the off season and we're going through our ranking shows, we're going to try to line up some interviews and stuff. If you are into DFS during the season, we're doing that too. Mike's one of the best in the business in those DFS streets on DraftKings. As evidenced, I don't know if I should bring up the WNBA slate tonight, Mike. Are we yes, we're thumbs up right now? Shout out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm winning the $12. Yeah, it's gonna be I'm winning $200 tonight. So yeah.
Attaboy, Mike. Attaboy. If he's doing that in WNBA, imagine what he's doing in college basketball. So make sure you're around for that during the season. But do not, unlike Peanut Butter Posse is threatening because we have Kentucky ranked number 9. He's joking, obviously. Maybe? No, but I love my guy. Good to see you in there. Love to hear you in the live chat. Let us know why we're wrong. I don't care. I don't care if you think we're wrong. We love to hear it. We love to hear
I've
different
never been
opinions.
wrong.
Well, I've actually, that might have come out of my mouth at once in my life. I'm not dumb enough to think that that's still the case.
100%,
But
man,
I do know that the next MC Holland Invitational, obviously that can't be until the season starts.
Yeah.
The MC Holland 34 Invitational over on DraftKings. Like, in my case, that
Some mid-season form. Your mid-season form in mid-June.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Hey, Johnny K, are you ready? I said, are you ready for our
I'm
number
scared.
6 team? No, don't be. It's the calming sounds of that storm rolling in. The St. John's Red Storm, 31-5 last year, 18-2 in the Big East. Is it their conference now under head coach Rick Pitino? They're making a case for it, Mike. Earned a 2 seed last year in the old Big Dance, beat Omaha before getting upset by 10 seed Arkansas. Calipari and Petit. What a matchup
So good.
in the second round of the tournament. Everyone glued to that. That's the stuff. I love that, man. What an atmosphere. What an environment in the second round. So obviously St. John's season ended a little bit earlier than they would have liked. And not really much else you could say about that. After a really strong season, really thought they'd make it past the first weekend. Heading out of town, RJ Lewis headed to the draft. Man, that's a big one for sure. And then Kadari Richmond, Davon Smith, and Aaron Scott all heading out for graduation. Simeon Wiltshire, Mike, a player that we're going to become even more familiar with here around Central Texas. Wiltshire now playing on the 40 acres. Iwuchukwu now playing for Georgetown.
Yeah.
Jaden Glover leaving St. John's for St. Joe's. So, it's Coach Pitino, man. Like, we know, as Johnny K is saying, he's stoked with the top 10. Definitely on board with a 6 seed. Shout out to Johnny K for winning that little battle with Peanut Butter Posse, at least in terms of whose team is ranked better. But we got Rick Pitino, man, leading the St. John's squad. How are you feeling, man? Ejiofor back.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about this Red Storm team?
So if you read the roster off, you're like, man, this is one of the top 2, 3, 4 rosters, right? Ejiofor, you just mentioned, just a huge year last year. You got some other guys back. These are more like deeper bench guys. Ruben Prey, Leotopoulos, Io. Let's get to the heavy hitters here, the portal additions, man. Ian Jackson, sorry, Cam, guard from North Carolina. I guess he's going to play point guard. Isaiah Sellers from USC, a really good shooting guard. Bryce Hopkins, who John Rothstein's hyping up as I didn't just say a national player of the year candidate. I'm like, okay, let's pump the brakes a little bit. You've got all these other guys on the roster. It's gonna be hard for him to get the stats to do that, but we'll see. We love some Bryce Hopkins, and I want to see him make a comeback from the injuries that he's had to deal with. Josan Sin, the guard from Arizona State, super talented, one of the best shooters in the portal. Dylan Mitchell, we're very familiar with him, athletic 4-man. I thought this addition was a little bit weird from a roster construction standpoint. Dylan Darling, he's kind of like your insurance policy, the guard from Idaho State. If the Ian Jackson thing doesn't work out at point guard, you have a guy that's actually played a little bit of point guard, but it was in the Big Sky. So, yeah, I mean, when you look at the portal hall, it's one of the top 2 or 3 portal halls in the country. You got the Austrian Soljanovic coming over, Kelvin Ode coming in from high school, number 75 on the 24/7. Look, a lot of people projecting here. Jackson to start at the 1, Sellers at the 2, Hopkins at the 3, Mitchell at the 4, Ejiofor at the 5. Johnny K, let me talk to you, my man, because I'm a little worried. My notes here, roster construction and a true point guard. It sounds like the true point guard was kind of the talk of the Kentucky deal last year. And the roster construction, we talked about it with multiple teams. They're on my list of teams where I'm a little concerned that you have just too much talent, and maybe the fit isn't going to be all the way there. Miami's another team that kind of jumps out to you. You're like, well, you had some solid additions. You added some additions that maybe canceled that out. So I'm a little worried. Look, the outside shooting, that was the huge deal last year. Remember, Jay? It was like the effective field goal percentage is like within the 300s. It's like, what are we doing? They're going to get captured by somebody in the tournament. The rebounding is obviously going to be strong when you have Hopkins in there, Dylan Mitchell's in there, Zuby Ejiofor. This experiment, maybe Ian Jackson can play point guard. I don't know. That's a huge deal. If it doesn't work out, can Dylan Darling play point guard in the Big East? I guess probably won't be asked to do much other than kick it out to the shooters and toss it inside to Ejiofor. But I don't know what Dylan Mitchell's doing in here. A projected starter at the 4, you put a non-shooter, kind of more of a paint-bound guy, a slasher next to Ejiofor. And then Hopkins, who kind of lives in the mid-range, that people are going to say he shot 40% last year. It was on like 10 attempts. He hasn't been a career great outside shooter. And then you have all these like great shooters, Jackson, Sellers, Sannon, that really good outside shooters that aren't a traditional point. You're going to see them in the 3, 4, 5 spot, 6 spot from most preseason things. I'm not saying, because I think Pitino, Jay, I think you would agree. You'd rather bring it all in and make it work. I think it has to be the right rotations, and this can work. Like, I wouldn't play Dylan Mitchell. I would bring him as a backup energy big, right? Maybe start Dylan Darling and bring a Sellers off the bench as a microwave scorer. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think that this could absolutely work. This could be a Final Four team, Jay. I just think that Pitino, for this to work, it has to be too much talent. Is that ever really a problem? Yeah, that can sometimes be a problem. There's only 5 players on the court at one time. They have to fit with things that you do.
Yeah, and I think that Pitino is obviously, Darren, the point I think you're making here is like, if Pitino gets this much talent in his gymnasium, he should be able to figure it out, Mike. And you made that point a little bit ago too. Like, it's just like, what are the rotations? What guys are going to mesh well with other guys, and how can you make that work in the flow of a game and keep things rolling? And that's
how many times I see teams win the portal and it doesn't fit? Like Texas with Chris Beard, his first year, it took him the second year to be like, we shouldn't have done that because it didn't fit.
Yeah,
Trey Mitchell,
it just didn't work. I mean, tons of talent. We definitely have seen those teams win the portal and then end up a 10 seed. Looking at you, Arkansas. So I mean, we'll see.
Right.
We'll see how that goes. But obviously,
John L. Davis, the number 1 player in our transfer portal last year, and he was a ghost until Flan got hurt.
Yeah.
Let's not say that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And again, this is Rick Pitino here, and with all of this talent, he definitely has the ability to do that. You know who has the ability to hop in right at the right moment too into the live chat is Babu, Mike. He's at the College World Series, 3 sheets to the win, joining us on the broadcast. Babu, good to see you in there, man.
Oh, yeah, he's an Arkansas fan, right? They beat UCLA tonight. And then they had the should have been a perfect and no-hitter the day before. That's good stuff.
Pretty impressive stuff there. Excellent stuff. Thanks for checking in with us from the College World Series. Johnny K, I hope we did your Johnny's right, because I'd say that to Peanut Butter Posse about Kentucky, but I think we know how he feels about how we spoke about them today. Running down the list from 10 to 6, then we got UCLA at 10. We've got Kentucky at 9, Texas Tech at 8, BYU at 7, and St. John's at 6. All right. Shout out to everybody that joined us tonight for teams 15 through 6. Make sure you get over to the last show that we recorded, and for teams 25 through whatever it was, 16. I'm not, it's too late for me to be doing math right now in my head. It's not too late for Darren to ask about Mike's wardrobe. He did have the Wakanda Forever shirt last season. Oh, we've got, okay, it's still in the multiverse there with Captain America. with Captain America. No Wakanda. I'm not doing the gesture today on air like I did last time. I'm not doing it, but I will do that one. And shout out our guy El Capitan himself, the captain of the one and done ship at MC Holland 34 on X, the OG Money Mike, Mr. Mike Holland. Make sure you follow him over there on X for all your favorite college basketball, WNBA, and Sabrina Carpenter talk. He's your guy to see. Shout out to Nape tonight for pushing the buttons, the Hall of Famer himself, CC Hustle at the Real Napier on X. And then, of course, turning out those beautiful slides that you see, all the graphics that we have, our guy Eric the Blue at Fantasy Nav in those Twitter streets for all the best fantasy information you can handle. At One and Done CDB is the show page and all the socials. Follow us there. But most importantly, hit those like and subscribe buttons right there, like it says on your screen right below our faces. Show us some love. Let's get to 11 gazillion fulfillion and 1 subscribers. That's the goal right now. Why don't we work our way up to like 1550 or something like that? Who knows? Push some buttons and help get us there. Come up with a motto for yourself this offseason. Darren's is, I will not play Jaden Epps in DFS next season. Shout out to Darren for sticking with it. And we hope that all of you stick with us here on One and Done, your fast break of college basketball information, as we like to say around here. Hit those buttons. And we'll be back soon with a wrap-up of our top 20. Yeah, our top 5 show coming up here, coming in hot. A week from now, if you're watching live, we're going to come to you next Tuesday. That'll be the 24th. So set your calendars, put all your alarms. If you're on Reddit, do the remind me thing, or however you need to remember we're being live in a week. We'll see you then. Until then, my name is JAYHEINRICH. Come again. We'll see you.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.